Welcome into the Vitamin Energy Warchant wrap. We just watched Florida State fall to the University of Miami 36-14. I watched it in person. I'm down here at Hard Rock Hotel, the Hard Rock Stadium. Corey is back home. We can tell this is like an IQ test. You know which one of us is smarter. He's the one that stayed back home while I came down here.
And I didn't even watch the game, Ira. How did it go? Did they move the ball?
You're even smarter than I thought. Real quick, Vitamin Energy. Here's the we'll get back to them at the end. But look, you got one too. We got all the props.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Vitamin Energy Warchant BOGO is the promo code. Guys, get your Vitamin Energy. Nights like this, you need it. Go to vitaminenergy.com. They've got a bunch of different flavors, a bunch of different purposes, I guess you'd say, Corey, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And anyway, support Vitamin Energy because they support Warchant. So, Florida State falls 36-14 in a game that was really, it wasn't, for a while, it was not embarrassing. Florida State was hanging around, but then it just was like a slow bleed, and just they could never get a stop on defense. And, other than the one touchdown that Luke Kromenhoek got in the first half, it really was nothing offensively until the very end of the game. But, Corey, I saw a few of your tweets during the game since we weren't sitting next to each other. You seemed a little dissatisfied with the offense, so I figure we could start there.
Well, and it's not like I was stunned, Ira. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, and I wrote the column that'll be up on the site soon. It might be up by the time people are watching this. It's like, I like some things I saw from Luke Kromenhoek. There was some stuff to like, but then it's like, to what end? For what? Like, it's so hard to even project what he can be because there's so much incompetence around just on the offense as a whole. Like, again, they had 240 yards of offense. 40 of them came on one of what would have been the worst QB sneak in history, but he spun out of it and got 40 yards out of it. That was their biggest play of the night.
And then 60 yards came on the final drive.
Yeah, and other than that, it was like, am I blaming Kromenhoek? Like, he stood in there, he showed some wheels, he showed he had a live arm. Now he wasn't always accurate. He maybe threw it a little too hard at times, but there's some stuff there to build on. There's some stuff to like. But then I don't even like the last, Ira, would you say the last 7 weeks almost? I've been like, at least the last 4 weeks, I want this to be an open tryout for the quarterback position to see who's going to be the guy going forward. And then it's like, I don't even know if this is a fair tryout because how do you judge what these quarterbacks can do when they're surrounded by this?
Well, I mean, I do think that, I do think you saw some things from Luke. There were again, the passing game was almost non-existent throughout the night. But just the headiness, the competitiveness, the way he, scrambled a few times, bought some time, seemed to have pretty good composure. I don't know, man. I thought he looked decent. And really, in the first half, they only got 3 possessions. He only had one of them.
Right.
So then he gets a few possessions in the second half. So it's not like he had a full game to play. Brock had 2 possessions early. They really didn't go much of anywhere. And then he got in for the last 2 possessions of the game. Did get the 1 touchdown drive kind of against Miami's probably backup defense late in the closing minutes. I guess they scored with 5 seconds left. Finally got Malik Benson a touchdown.
Yeah.
But, again, it's to your point. This offense, it doesn't seem to matter what they do. It doesn't, they play the youth movement. We've been asking for weeks and weeks to get all those young receivers and tight ends and running backs in the game, and they got them. There were plays in this game where it's LaWayne McCoy and Amari Williams and Elijah Moore and Sam Single. I mean, it's freshmen everywhere, freshmen at quarterback. And so you understand maybe why it doesn't operate effectively, but, at least they're trying something different, but it doesn't seem to matter who's in there. This offense cannot score. The fact, again, that Miami, their last 3 games had given up, an average of almost 40 points a game. And then in this game, you had 7 points until the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, and Cristobal coached just like Manny Diaz coached last week. Like there's no point.
Dabo Sweeney before
there's no point in take the 3 points. Don't give them a short field because they are not going to drive the field on us and score, and they won't. And it's like you can't get mad. You can't get mad that they lost the game. And in all honesty, other than some just ridiculous third down stuff on defense, I don't know that you're mad at the defense. Like, what else did you want them to do? They could have held them to 15 points. You still would have lost the game. Right. Like, I think the defense, I can tell you this. I don't know if you saw it in the press box, but I can promise you that's the only time this year Cam Ward has taken his iPad and slammed it on the ground. I mean,
really? Did he?
He was angry after their second straight field goal of the second half. He was angry. They angered him. They obviously didn't rattle him. I don't think that kid can get rattled. But they made him run around a lot. He was frustrated a lot. He didn't score a touchdown. I mean, he scored a receiving touchdown, but it was the first game all year. He didn't throw for at least 2. He didn't throw for over 300 yards for the first time this year. Like, there were a lot of things to like. Maybe not the runs up the middle. That wasn't something to like. But I thought overall, the defense as a whole played well enough, man. Well enough. If the offense could have done anything and sustained some drives and scored some points and put some real game pressure on Miami, we would have seen. It's so hard to even gauge how bad or good the defense was because they know they can't win. They know if the team scores 23 points, the game is a wrap. And so I'm not mad at them for that last touchdown. I'm just not. The game was over. It'd have been nice for them to bow up, but the game was over.
No, and honestly, you could be mad at Mike Norvell for throwing 3 times and giving them the ball back.
Yeah, exactly. They were ready to be done. Yeah.
At some point, you can and really Mike Norvell said the reason he went back to Brock Glenn at that point was because he did want to run hurry up, and Brock is more comfortable doing that than Luke is right now. So, he was going to go down swinging. I don't know if he realizes that, it sucks worse. Now, they did get the touchdown late, FSU.
It evened out. It was a 22-point loss either way, I guess.
It did. But when 36-7 looked a lot worse than 29-7, I think. But anyway,
but Ira, it's an important point. Like, if they don't get that last touchdown, they would be dead last in the country in scoring right now. Already did the math. But because they got that last touchdown, the Malik Benson touchdown, they pushed ahead of Houston. So Florida State's only 132nd in the country now in scoring offense.
Take that, Houston. Take that.
Sorry, Cougars. That's for the 15 Peach Bowl that we don't ever forget.
Yeah, the defense, it is hard to evaluate. I mean, I think you got to look at it in different segments. I thought the defensive line did a really good job for large parts of this game. They got in Cam Ward's face. They forced him into pressure, and they were pretty disciplined. They forced him into they didn't allow him to just break, contain, and make a bunch of 40, 50-yard plays like they do to everybody else. But it was kind of like death by a million pricks because needle pricks. I
was going to say, don't call the Miami football players that. You don't know them.
Just the 3rd and long conversions, that 3rd and 20 conversion was just ridiculous. And then I think what Mike Norvell seemed to be most mad about was the 2 plays where they had 12 men on the field on defense. And when I asked about it after the game, he basically just said, he mumbled a few things about communication and then just said it's unacceptable. And I will say this, man, like for whatever, I don't know what this means to people. I know people are fed up a lot of times with not just the play on the field, but Mike Norvell's press conferences because I think they feel like, I don't know, maybe they want to see more frustration. I thought there was some of that tonight. I mean, he was pretty for a game where there were a lot of positive things, he didn't seem to really want to talk about those. He was really frustrated by the penalties on defense, by some of the lapses on the 3rd downs, and then by the fact that the offense can't do anything. I'm not saying that's a great compliment to Mike Norvell, but I did feel like it's not like he's throwing up his hands. He at least seemed to be pretty exacerbated, which I guess you can see on TV as well.
Yeah, and he got mad. There was a time where they held on him for a while. Well, they showed him a lot. They showed him a lot more than they showed Cristobal tonight. But there was a stretch after the second 12-men on the field penalty where he's kind of barking at Adam Fuller. And Adam Fuller's nodding his head, still trying to call the play, and Norvell says something to him again, and he nods his head again and then tries to call the play. And that's the thing, man. It's not acceptable. It's not excusable at all. But you've got a quarterback back there that there aren't many college quarterbacks that take advantage of that stuff. It wasn't like Florida State was necessarily lollygagging.
Right.
Kevin Noles was like 2 steps from out of bounds. Wasn't quite sure if he should be on the field, which is Florida State's fault. But there was still like 30 on the play clock. And they had been running, and then all of a sudden Cam Ward sees that, and he takes the snap immediately. That's what the veterans do, man. And he's obviously got some stuff to him. And he's a big difference maker. He's the biggest reason they're 8-0 and challenging for a playoff spot. But, when you look at the rosters, Ira, it's just like they had a couple of receivers make catches that Florida State receivers just don't make. Like the Horton kid goes up, he's already 6'5", and it's a third down play. It's a huge play in that part of the game where he goes up and makes a great catch. Obviously, Restrepo is hard to cover, and I thought they did a good job with him. I thought they did a good job, like you said, in the passing game overall. But at the end of the day, you still give up 36 points. You still you still are now 1-7 on your way to probably. It wasn't great, Ira, that UNC looked really good today. Nobody wanted to see that. Well, they beat the crap out of Virginia. They beat the tar out of Virginia. So that wasn't good to see. So you're probably on your way to a 2-10 season. I did like that they played so many freshmen.
Buddy. Still got the Gators, too. Don't forget about the Gators.
Like I said, probably.
Hey, man, I'm not conceding that by any stretch. They have to play Murderer's Row for the next month. We'll see what they look like coming out of that.
You're right.
And you might have something with Kromenhoek, man. We'll see.
So that's what I think you throw that's what you throw all your hope into, is that you're not going to see all of a sudden an offense that averages 40 a game or even 22 a game. But can you see some stuff from that kid? Let's see what he looks like late in the game when it's on the line. We've seen it with Brock Glenn a little bit. Wasn't unhappy with the way he looked against Duke in the final minutes because he did drive them down a couple of times. I want to see it with Luke with real game pressure on him. It's the experience stuff, right? Ira, it's just that you want to see them get some experience. Amari Williams, fourth down play in that game earlier where the kid makes a nice play, but that's a catch he can make. It would have been a really good catch, but that's a catch he can make. Later in the game, it's obviously out of reach at that point. I think it might have been against the same linebacker. He goes over him and makes the catch. Again, little things like that maybe you can build on a little bit. McCoy finally got a catch and bullied himself for a first down. So there are things, tiny things that you can maybe hold on to and say, okay, that's something for the future. Because it's all the young guys, man. Just roll with the young guys.
I agree. And man, they played them. I don't know if you could tell on TV.
Yeah.
But like I said, there were plays where there's like 5 freshmen out there at a time. And on defense, Earl Little played a ton of safety. Ashley Barker, before he got hurt, played a lot of safety. I liked some of the things we saw from Earl Little at safety tonight. And then, he just moved back to that position like 3 weeks ago. Linebackers, Omar Graham had some nice plays today. So, there were some individual moments. Daryl Jackson, I thought had a really good game, in impacting Cam Ward. So there were positives. It's not like it's a complete disaster, but it's just so many. And to me, everything is colored by the poor offense, because if you get anything going offensively, it takes so much pressure off the defense, and it takes pressure off those guys on offense. But at the end of the day, man, this offensive line is, I know they juggled some pieces tonight. They started Jacob Rizzi at one guard, and for a lot of the game they played. They started Jalen early, then they went to
Keandre Jones, right? Yeah,
Keandre Jones for large parts of the game. So it was a different looking offensive line. You didn't have Darius Washington, so Rob Scott played left tackle, and then Maurice still was having some issues with the snapping. But if that doesn't get better, I don't know what you can do. You can't put freshmen and redshirt freshman quarterbacks behind an offensive line that can't really protect and expect to have much offense. So that I don't know. From that standpoint, I don't know what can change the rest of the season.
Well, it's weird when you say that, Ira, because obviously, yes, that's true. The offensive line has to get worlds better. There were running lanes tonight, and they did for Florida State. For Florida State's, obviously it's all relative, but I thought they ran the ball better than they have all season. I think the running backs probably averaged 5 yards a carry, which for this unit is like averaging 20 yards a carry for most college offenses. I thought there was some stuff to do there in the running game, and I thought it was like your head coach didn't realize, oh, yeah, we can actually run on them a little bit. I would have liked to see that more. I don't understand Toafili getting 6 carries or 7 carries or whatever it is, because I thought there was some stuff there to run with. I thought Keziah looked good running the ball. And it's just they I don't know. To me, for the first time, there were actually, to me, all season, it seemed like there were some running lanes. And Miami could have been gotten a little bit through the ground, but they decided to put it in the hands of their quarterbacks, who went a combined 11 of 32.
No, I agree with you there. I thought there were definitely some nice running lanes. And they kind of were establishing it a little bit at times, but then they went away from it. The other thing, there were some huge missed opportunities in this game. First of all, defensively, this team just cannot get a takeaway. The ball could be rolling around. The ball could be knocked up into the air. This team will just not get a takeaway. And then on the other side, the play, you wanted me to ask Mike Norvell about the fourth down play where Luke tried to hit Toffoli on the kind of a wheel route, and Kentron flashed streaking across the field wide open. And basically, it's just Luke just didn't see it. He's a young quarterback, and as soon as he came to the sideline, he knew he missed it. But that's the thing. Like even when their plays are there to be made, you've got young players making mistakes. So I don't know, man. I know it's beyond frustrating. I know Florida State fans are furious right now to be not just to lose Miami, but lose by 22 points and be 1-7 on the season. But other than looking for individual improvements in certain players, I don't know how you can come away from any of these games feeling good about anything.
Well, right, but I think it's the lens you have to look at these games now, Ira. Like I wasn't I don't think there were a lot of Florida State fans that were just raving mad after the Clemson game. Are probably raving mad about this one because there was a real fear going into tonight.
Yeah, we'd be embarrassed.
Miami was going to win. It was going to be like the Orange Bowl last year. Like there was a real fear it was going to be like that. Well, it was a 2-score game in the fourth quarter. Like barely a 2-score game. It was 16 points.
16 points, but yeah.
And it didn't even feel all that competitive, but it wasn't a laugher either. Like, again, Cam Ward was slamming stuff on the sidelines. He was frustrated. It was a real contest, not one you could win because your offense is so bad. So I do think that there's still some life in the team that they don't just roll over. But at the same time, you obviously can't win if you don't score, and they don't score at all. I did want to say one thing. Earl Little played more tonight than I think he's played all season.
Yes.
And I wanted to point him out because, look, man, I don't know what he's going to grade out at. He might have been awful. They might have hated the way he played. But by God, you want to talk about a kid that wants to hit you hard, that was good to see. He looked like that. He would just on the TV screen, Ira, he would flash out of nowhere and send people backwards. He played with kind of the reckless abandon you want your safeties and linebackers to play with, so that was good to see at least. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be a great safety here, but that was good. That was really good to see that Earl Little made some real plays in that one, and it just brought some thunder with him.
No, he definitely did, and Omar Graham actually spoke about him after the game that he loved the way he came downhill, triggered downhill, made plays, and that's again, like he's only been at safety now for a few weeks. He played nickel when he came over from Alabama. So maybe there's something there. And again, like I thought the linebackers, there were a couple of busted plays, the long run late, but for the most part, or the touchdown run late. Yeah. But for the most part, I thought you're seeing some individual areas of improvement. So we'll see.
Well, that's the small things, right? Like you can't. That's the only thing you have to hold on to. If you want to analyze the games itself, well, they're embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be 1-7. But we know that. We know this season is what it is. So you try to look for little glimmers that give you hope going into 2025 with guys that are coming back for next year. And I think you see that with a few of the guys.
And like you said, the fact that they have not mailed it in, I thought they competed. And that was one of the main things I really wanted to see in this game, because earlier this year, you kind of wondered a couple times. But anyway, we'll wrap it up here from Hard Rock Stadium.
Shout out to Mastromato. Shout out to Mastromato. He's still great. I wish he'd have gotten more at bats. Norvell won't give him any at bats. He goes for on fourth down all the time now.
Fitzdog can't get any at bats either, but they're very, very good. VitaminEnergy.com is the website. Go check it out. They have Warchant BOGO is the promo code. Buy one, get one free. Buy 10, get 10 free. There's no limit on that, guys. Check it out. And plenty more coverage at Warchant.com. Corey, your column will be up shortly, maybe by the time people read this. Plenty of coverage over the next day or two. And then, we'll move it on to North Carolina week. They only scored 41 this week, Corey. So I think Florida State's got them right where they want them.
I love everyone.
We'll talk to you next week.